Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's live. I'm going to just get my phone set up so I can see Facebook comments. There we go, put that down here. Let me check on my second camera, good to go. All right. So glad you could join us tonight. We're going to wait just a couple minutes to get started to let people join. I see Dawn is on already. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Mimi. So I am in South Central Michigan in Battle Creek, and we've had that hot, steamy weather for the last week or two. And tonight it is raining, so I'm hoping that after tonight it's going to cool down a little bit because we've had plenty of the steaminess. But tonight we are going to be making some refreshing citrus and watermelon coasters to try to beat the heat, whether it's real or imaginary heat. So these are what we're going to make tonight. There is already a blog post that gives step-by-step instructions for the citrus slices, but we'll talk about those a little bit later. And then the watermelon ones we're going to do from scratch, and I'll show you the whole way. Oh, I see Judy's on as well. She was on last Wednesday. Well, Judy, better to be a week early than a week late. I did put up the event on Facebook earlier than I usually do. In part because I had the project done earlier, and then also just to see if we got some more eyeballs on it with a little advance notice. So I'm sorry that you couldn't find us last week, but glad you made it tonight. And ooh, you're about 12 miles from me. Fantastic. So you're probably getting some rain right about now too. So like I said, thank you all for joining us tonight, and make sure you leave a comment because Dawn will select a winner from tonight's comments to win a $25 ThermOWeb gift card. And we'll give it just another minute while we're doing that. I'm just going to point out this quilt behind me because it is one of my newest ones, and I'm excited to share it. This is made with my upcoming new collection, Nature Unfiltered. And it is a free pattern that will be available on my website by next Monday, because right now the pattern is with my tech editor making sure all the math works. But it uses every single print in the collection, just a strip of it in rainbow order, and then some pieced sashing that go from a white to a light aqua, and then a pieced square border. So it's a quick and easy fun lap quilt that just goes through the whole rainbow of fabrics. And these fabrics will be in shops in the fall. So when I know more about exact timing, I will definitely talk about that both here in Facebook Lives, as well as if you get my newsletter or follow me on Instagram or my personal Facebook page, both of which are under the name Quilty Zest, as you see on my shirt. So, oh, Megan's joined us. Fantastic. Great to see you. And Luke. Where's Benji? Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, Benji is taking a well-deserved night off. He did some weeding today outside, and he's feeling pretty tired from that. I was working, so to be honest, I don't know exactly how much weeding he did, but enough that he was feeling tired and decided to take a pass on tonight. I'm pretty sure he's on the couch resting his body and watching TV, but I'll have to go out and check out his weeding and see how he did. We've got company coming in. My husband's family's coming in on Saturday, so we're trying to make the house look nice and the yard and all of that. So there's been weeding and painting and general cleaning and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, weeding is not fun. So I'm quite thrilled when I can convince the kids to do it so I don't have to. So nobody likes weeding, right? And if you do, I will give you my address and you can come over and do some. So, alrighty, let's get started with the tutorial. So, like I said, I'm going to start with the watermelon, and then I will just give you a brief overview of the citrus slices, because that whole tutorial is already in a blog post on the ThermOWeb blog, and I'm guessing that Dawn will probably put a link for that into the comments. Oh, we got some more comments about weeding. Yeah, isn't it funny how we weed for company but not necessarily for ourselves? There's actually a part of my yard that I planted wildflower seeds in, and I'm hoping that they take over because it seems silly to put all this effort into getting rid of weeds when we could just grow things, do that whole natural lawn thing. So we're going to see how that goes. Judy says she got messed up weeding last week. It kind of hurts your back sometimes, and yeah, not a lot of fun. Okay, on to the watermelon coasters. So I'm going to show you what products we're using tonight. We've got the HeatnBond Lite Sewable because these are primarily a raw edge applique project. And then we're going to use the lightweight fusible interfacing so that white fabric doesn't have the dark colors show through behind. A little fusible fleece for some padding in our coasters. And pressing paper to protect our ironing surface and our iron and our fabric. And then last but not least, the HeatnBond liquid vinyl, which will make these cute little coasters water resistant. A lot of fun to add that to the top. Oh, Mimi, I would love to see what you are making with my Find Your Way fabric. So I hope you'll share that with me. I can't wait to see what it is, and I'm excited to work with my new line too. I got enough sample fabric to make this and one other quilt, but the rest is coming in the next week or two, and then I've got to do some sewing. So on the blog post for today and last week's for the citrus one, there are 2 template pages, one for the citrus and one for the watermelon. And it has all of the templates that you need for this project. I've got some pieces cut out tonight already so that you're not spending too much time watching me cut. I'm going to switch to my overhead camera. There we go. And start showing you what we're doing. So to make the watermelon, I'm going to leave these guys up here so we have a little visual aid. So to make the watermelon, what you do is, and mine's already, like I said, cut out, but what you do is you cut out, you fold your fabric in half, and then you cut out this template and place the fold on this line here. Uh-oh. Dawn says she thinks the feed is freezing. Anyone else? Can you comment and let me know if you're seeing what's going on? Oh, you know what? I'm looking at, yep, I think it's frozen too. Oh, Mimi says she's good. Okay. Sally, I'm thinking Dawn will put up a post or a link to the post that has that information in it for tonight. Okay, I'm going to keep going, and hopefully whatever's going on with Dawn is just an anomaly. So anyway, you're going to fold your fabric in half and put that folded edge on the straight line, and then cut out your a double layer of the watermelon shape. So if you open it up, it actually is more of an oval. And then the best thing, oh good, Dawn's back. And then it's easiest if you just press that folded edge so that it is, you know exactly where it is. And then, where is my cut shape? Okay, I'm gonna switch to this guy. And then you're going to fuse the fusible fleece shape, which is a second template on that sheet. You're going to fuse that so that the edge of the fusible fleece lines up with the fold in the fabric. And when I fuse shapes like that, I'm going to show you like this. So when I do it, what I do is I put the shape on, and then I find it fuses better when you have the adhesive side of the fusible closer to the iron. So I actually turn it upside down and press it that way. And otherwise the heat has to go through the fusible fleece layer, and it works a little better for me when I do it the other way. So after you have your fusible fleece half circle fused on, what you're going to do is stitch right around the edge of the fusible fleece. And I used green thread, so it's hard to see, but you're going to stitch as close to that edge of the fleece as you can get, and then clip that curved edge of the green. Make sure you don't go through the stitch line, but clip that curved edge. And the reason, you'll see why I'm doing this in a minute. What I don't enjoy doing when I'm working with circle shapes is leaving an edge open and then turning it. Whenever I go to tuck those raw edges in and then sew it, I feel like I don't get a nice curve. So I'm using a different method instead, and you'll see how this comes together. Oh, Belinda's on. Nice to see you, Belinda. So what I'm going to do then is separate the layers. So on the bottom I have the fleece and one layer of the green, and on the top I can feel I have the other layer of the green separate. And I'm just going to cut into that, just that top layer, and I want to cut right in the middle because I'm ultimately going to put the white and the red template slices over it. So I've got a cut right there in the middle, and I'm going to use that to turn my watermelon rind and backing right side out. And then this is the best tool for this project, just one of these little plastic turners. And I use that to run it along that seam line, that curved seam line, and poke out the corners, and then also run it along that folded line. And I usually go around it about twice just to get it, the curve, as nice as I can. And you see I have this big slash in the middle, but that's okay because we're going to cover it up. But I get a nice smooth curved edge, and I don't have to try to turn in the raw edges from the opening and deal with that. Then I'm just going to give this a little press, and then we're going to fuse. I've got my red slice and my white slice for the, I don't know, inner rind, I guess, for lack of a better word, and I'm going to fuse those cutout shapes onto the wrong side of my red and my white fabric. And for the white fabric, because I'm putting it on that dark green, what I'm going to do first is I cut, let me press this piece, it's a little wrinkly. I cut a piece of the lightweight fusible interfacing, and this is, Dawn always likes to call this like putting a slip under your dress. And I'm just going to fuse that to the wrong side of my white fabric first. Yes, and like Dawn is saying, if you're watching tonight, leave a comment so that you can be entered to win a gift card, and also so we know you're watching. So I've got that interfacing down, and then I'm going to put my my little fused template piece from the HeatnBond Lite on top of that, and fuse that down as well. And that will help the white fabric to be a little more opaque so that green rind doesn't show through. So then for both of these, I'm going to cut it out. And see, this is where I pre-cut, so you didn't have to watch me cut. And then I'm going to peel the paper backing off of the white and just position it right along that folded, flat, straight edge of the green. There we go. And then fuse that one down. I'm just going to do this just for a touch, just enough to get it started, because I'm going to hit it again when I put the red piece down, and I don't want to overfuse that white. So I've got that red right up to that green edge as well. And now I'm going to do it, I generally do about 7 seconds on a medium heat to get everything fused in place. And there is our cute little watermelon, and that cut line from turning it right side out is hidden underneath our watermelon flesh, and you'd never know that it's there. So then the last little finishing touch is to put on the seeds. And I cut these seeds out in advance because they're teeny tiny. And you can, I did 4. If you want to have a very seeded watermelon, or CD, I guess, seeded would be without, you can always cut out more. But these are super tiny. I'll get them in place and then fuse them. And then, okay, there we go. And fuse those down. Okay. So this is what our watermelon looks like right now. And then what I did, which I'm not going to do off camera right now, is I did 3 stitch lines. And with green thread, I did one about a 1/4 inch from that outer line, that outer edge of the rind. And then with white thread, I did a stitch right on that inner white rind. And then with the red, I did it around the edge of the red, just inside the edge, but then I also went along the bottom just to help secure that edge, because that, we'll get a lot of handling with the coaster. So those are the stitch lines I recommend doing, and you can see I used same bobbin color for the back, so I've got a little bit of red, white, and green showing on the back. And then your coaster is done. I opted not to stitch the seeds down just because they were so tiny. It was going to be a teeny tiny stitching, and the liquid vinyl will provide a little extra hold for it in addition to the Fusible. So that is how we make the watermelons. And now, and I will show you how to do the I'll do the liquid vinyl for both at the end, because that's sort of the messy part. Now we're moving on to the citrus slices. So when I originally came up with this project idea, my plan was to do lemons and watermelons and just have those be the 2. But then after I made the lemon, I was looking for more yellow fabric, and I realized I could make an orange, I could make a lime, and I could make a grapefruit. Now, if there's any grapefruit aficionados out there, you might argue that the grapefruit rind is typically more of a yellowy orange, and then the flesh is what's pink. I went with pink for all of it because I liked how these look each made out of one color, but you can go through your scraps and find whichever you like. So the technique for the citrus slices is very similar. So on the template page there are multiple circles, and the largest is for your fabric, number 1. Number 2 is the batting, and number 3 is for your white circle for the, I don't know, flesh, the rind. It's not really the rind, whatever the white stuff is. So same kind of thing where you're gonna where you're going to do a double layer of fabric and cut out the circle, and then fuse the fusible fleece circle into the center of that. The other thing you can do if you don't want to trace it on the fabric is fuse your circle in place on doubled fabric, and then just cut out roughly a 1/4 inch past that edge, because it's going to be tucked in inside, so it doesn't matter. Dawn says she feels healthier just watching this tutorial. I was eating ice cream last night and feeling like maybe it should have been fruit instead. So same thing, we're going to, once it's stitched together, you're going to pull up that back fabric, and I just kind of wiggle it. Pith. Thank you. The white part is the pith. So good when we have a fruit expert or someone with a quick Google in their possession. But I kind of wiggle it a little bit, because then I know I just have that top layer and not all of the layers. Hi Rita, thanks for joining us. Fruit plus ice cream. See, I just like the chocolate. And I'm going to cut through that one side of the yellow circle and flip it right side out. And now, if there's anyone on who has been watching my Facebook Lives for the last several months, you may recognize this fabric. because I've been using my Find Your Way fabric for a lot of my live tutorials, and I realized that this was a pretty good lemon color, so I decided to use it for one of these lemon coasters tonight. So again, I'm going to take my turning tool and run it along that seam edge. You go a couple times around, can get it as circular as possible, and then I'm just going to hit it with the iron to flatten it out a little bit. Yes, I will never go back to make, as long as I can cover it up with something, we'll never go back to making circles, you know, where you leave an opening and turn it, because it's just so hard to get that curved edge, and this works great. And if you were to be doing, like, say, applique circles on a quilt, you could put that face down, and then whether you top stitched it in place or hand appliqued it in place. But that's a great way if you're going to do circles, or even little leaves. You could do it with a number of shapes. So okay, so then I did the same thing as for the white section. If it's called, I don't know if it's called pith for the watermelon too, but I put the lightweight Fusible on the back of the white fabric first and fused that in place, and then I put my traced circle on the HeatnBond Lite on top of that and fused that as well. And then when you cut out the circle, it just goes right on top of that cut side. And you'll notice when you download the template for this project, sometimes things work one way digitally, and then when you go to do it in person, they don't work quite the same way, because maybe you're not perfect at cutting, or so my digital rendering of the fruit slices actually has 12 little fruit wedges in it. And when I went to actually put them on here, I could only fit 10. So you can fit in as many as you want. They're very putsy to get very close together. So fuse the white piece instead. Oh, fantastic. Okay, Dawn is all things fruit knowledge tonight. The white part of the watermelon is the rind, and the outer green is the peel. I never knew that either, because you don't peel watermelons. Well, thanks for letting us know, Dawn. So you're going to fuse that in place, and then I'm going to switch over to this orange version that I got halfway done before. And I did the same thing that I did on the watermelon, where I took the orange thread and I stitched right near the outer edge of my circle, and then white thread to stitch right near that white edge of the circle. So you can do that before or after you add the little wedge pieces. I did it before this time because then I can use this one to show you the liquid vinyl. One other trick I'm going to show you, because cutting out a lot of little pieces is not always super fun. So I have traced 10 wedges onto my HeatnBond Lite and fused it to the wrong side of the yellow. So after I cut out all 10 of these, which don't worry, I won't do on camera, then you've got to go through and peel the paper off of them, which is not hard, but when you're doing 10 of anything, it takes a while. So here's what I do. Before I cut any of them out, I pull the paper and I just pull it back a little, like about halfway. And so that way, after these are cut out, and you'll see it on the orange, they're all loose. So it's really fast for me to pull the backs off those wedges. And then I'm going to show you my other placement trick. So I have these flower head pins, and this helps. It's not perfect, but it helps. So what I do is place one of those flower heads right in the middle of my pith circle, and then I'm going to position all of the wedges on top. Now, if you have a tweezers or a pin or some other, like a stiletto, you might find that that helps to get these in place. They are pretty small, but by having that pin in the center, it kind of helps me make sure that I'm putting all the wedges in with a nice circle shape in the middle. And at some point you'll have to take it out, but even if you get most of them on, and then you can do the last couple. And now one of those, I'm going to warn you about this because I learned the hard way things. If you are using pressing paper at this point, you want to be very gentle and deliberate as you put it down. If you come in quick, you're going to blow all those carefully placed wedges out of position. So I'm going to fuse all of those in place. There we go. There is our new orange coaster. And so now let me grab my other supplies. So now we're going to do the liquid vinyl. So I often just grab a piece of cardboard to put on top of my cutting mat, or I do it somewhere completely different from a cutting mat so I don't have an accident. And then you can use wax paper or pressing paper on top of that. And I typically just use these little sponge brushes that you can get at craft stores or at home improvement stores. And for, what was the paper I just ironed onto? Sally, that is, it's pressing paper. And so it's got a shiny, waxy side that things do not stick to, and then a dull paper side. And so you put your shiny side down when you're ironing with Fusible web or Fusible fleece or interfacing or liquid vinyl. And then it protects your ironing surface, and your fabric from running into damage with each other. So the liquid vinyl has a really interesting texture to it. And if any of you were on when Benji was with me, was it last time or 2 times ago, he had not smelled it before. And he had some comments about the smell. I mean, it has a noticeable scent, but it's not bad. And once you let it dry, you don't smell it anymore. But he was none too subtle about it. So, oh yes, Dawn is giving us some technical information about the pressing paper and why it's better than wax paper. It is definitely better than wax paper. So what I do is just brush a coat onto the entire front of my coaster and make sure I don't have any globs in it, and let it dry. And then after it dries, I'll turn it over and do the back side as well. And then after you do that, you're going to hit it with your iron, using the pressing paper, definitely, but hit it with your iron, and that will help to, Dawn, what's the right word for this? It will cure it, it will activate it, but it makes it water resistant. And then you can add 2 or 3 coats and it will make it waterproof. But for coasters, I mean, you absolutely could do more. It'll set cure. Thank you. I knew you're my word person tonight. But you can add extra layers to it, especially if you're going to be putting glasses on it with condensation. But I also love that it gives it a little shine. And the more layers that you add, you get a little bit more of that shine as well. So you just let it dry. Again, if you decide you want extra layers, and then pressing paper and iron to help set or cure it, and then your coasters are done. So I am going to switch back to the screen with my face, maybe. There we go. Fantastic. So that is how you make both the citrus slice and the watermelon slice coasters. Does anyone have any questions? If you do, you can pop them into the chat. The templates it's a package deal. They're on both They're on the Citrus Slice blog right now, and I need to add them to the one for tonight, but you'll find both of them in both. And the Citrus blog walks you through step by step like I did tonight, just in picture and word form. And then this video is where you see the watermelon ones, but it's the same basic technique for both of them. So, oh, Megan says, yeah, Christmas with Christmas shapes would be super cute as well. Definitely, yeah. This is one of those things where you take the idea and you can apply it to, you know, a bunch of different themes. You could do Easter eggs, pumpkins, so many different things once you've got the basic concept down. And there's very little sewing. You know, it's 2 or 3 lines on each one, and that's about it. So they really go together very quickly. The cutting out the wedges is probably the most time-consuming part of the whole project. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you make them, you know, pop a picture in the ThermOWeb Facebook craft room, because it'd be fun to see what fabrics you chose, because you can make your fruit look different depending on which fabric scraps you found in your stash. So, oh, we've got a winner. Congratulations, Mimi. So, fantastic. Well, if there aren't any more questions, thank you for coming tonight, and I'll see you back here next month. Hopefully Benji will not, actually he'll be back in school, so he will not be weeding, but you know, he may be tired in a different way, but hopefully he'll join me next time, and we'll see you back here. So, oh, what would be the best way to fuse rickrack? So 2 suggestions off the top of my head, Sally. First of all, you could just stitch it down, and then you could still put the liquid vinyl over the top. Oh yes, the fabric fuse liquid glue would be great. If you're using a wider rickrack, depending on what size you were thinking, there's also it's fusible, but like on a roll, almost like ribbon, and it's a long strip. And so if you were using a larger rickrack, that would work as well, and you could just put that down the back, you know, during the straight part where the curves go in and out. But the liquid glue is pretty great too. So lots of fun things to play with. So fantastic. Well, thank you all for joining me tonight, and thank you to Dawn for being our Google extraordinaire and our tech expert. I appreciate all of the help, and hope to see you all here next month. Enjoy your month of August. Good night.